Hej och välkomna tillbaka. Idag är det vecka 13 i den här Torah portion läsningen som vi har. Och vi ska läsa Exodus som är andra Mosebok. Kapitel 1 till kapitel 6. Och den här Torah portion heter Shemot på hebreiska som betyder namn. Och det kommer handla om slaveriet i Egypten. Hur Israels barn blir slavar efter Josef. Och även Mose då, när han föds och växer upp. Så vi hoppar in Exodus kapitel 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. Each man and his household came with Jacob, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All those who were descendants of Jacob were 70 persons, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, all his brothers and all that generation. But the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king in Egypt, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, Look, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And it happened in the event of war that they also join our enemies and fight against us, and so go up out of the land. Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. So the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar, in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service in which they made them serve was with rigor. Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Sifra, and the name of the other Pua. And he said, When do the duties of a midwife for a Hebrew woman? When you do the duties of a midwife for the Hebrew woman, and you see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, then you shall kill him, but if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the male children alive. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said to them, Why have you done this thing, and saved the male children alive? And the midwives said to Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian woman, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them. Therefore Elohim dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mighty. And so it was, because the midwives feared Elohim, and he provided household for them. So Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, Every son who is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. Så många saker som händer. De blir slavar. Från att ha varit jättepopulära. Josef var älskad i landet. Och de krigade för Egypten och hjälpte till Egypten. Men ändå, efteråt så blir de slavar. Och de fick jobba hårt, står det här. Och precis, att när Israels barn föder en son så skulle de döda den. Bara låta flickor få leva då. Jag tänker att vi som vanligt läser lite i Jasher. Det finns väldigt mycket här och också detaljer runt omkring händelser. Jag kommer läsa lite grann. Kommer kanske skumma igenom vissa saker. Också för att fylla ut lite. Hur kunde det bli så här? Hur kunde de vara älskade till att bli slavar? Och det stod ju här att de växte och blev många människor. Men ändå så blev de förtryckta då. Så vi kan hoppa in i Jasher kapitel 63. And in the 93rd year died Levi, the son of Jacob, in Egypt, and Levi was 137 years old when he died. And they put him in a coffin, and he was given into the hands of his children. And it came to pass after the death of Levi, when all Egypt saw that the sons of Jacob, the brethren of Joseph, were dead. Här hade alla bröder dött nu. All the Egyptians began to afflict the children of Jacob, and to embitter their lives from that day unto the day of their going forth from Egypt. And they took from their hands all the vineyards and fields which Joseph had given unto them, and all the elegant houses in which the people of Israel lived, and all the fat of Egypt. The Egyptian took all from the sons of Jacob in those days. And the hand of all Egypt became more grievous in those days against the children of Israel. And the Egyptian injured the Israelites until the children of Israel were wearied of their lives on account of the Egyptians. And it came to pass in those days, in the 102nd year of Israel's going down to Egypt, that Pharaoh king of Egypt died, and Melol his son reigned in his stead. And all the mighty men of Egypt and all the generations which knew Joseph and his brethren died in those days. And another generation rose up in their stead, which had not known the sons of Jacob and all the good which they had done to them, and all their might in Egypt. Therefore all Egypt began from that day forth to embitter the lives of the sons of Jacob, and to afflict them with all manner of hard labor, because they had not known their ancestors who had delivered them in the days of the famine. And this was also from Yahweh, for the children of Israel, to benefit them in the latter days, in order that all children of Israel might know Yahweh their Elohim. And in order to know the signs and mighty wonders which Yahweh would do in Egypt on account of the people of Israel, in order that the children of Israel might fear Yahweh Elohim of their ancestors and walk in all his ways, and they and their seed after them all the days. Melol was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 94 years, and all Egypt called his name Pharaoh, after the name of his father. And it was their custom to do every king who reigned over them in Egypt. Precis, och sen så fortsätter det här och beskriva om olika krig. Angeas, King of Africa, börjar kriga mot ett folk, Shittim heter det folket. Och Esaus söner. Så jag tänker att vi inte läser allting i detalj där. En intressant sak man kan ta här, det är Sefo, det var väl en kung här då i Shittim, landet eller staden, vänder sig till Gud och vinner det här ett slag mot Angeas. Men där kommer han glömma av sen, att han fick hjälp av Herren. Vi kan hoppa vidare. Jasher 64. Jag vill också bara nämna det som står här. And Balaam, the son of Beor, was at that time with Angeas in the battle. Jag kommer inte ihåg om vi har nämnt Balaam tidigare. Jag tror det. Vi kommer ju se mer om honom. And when he saw that Sepho prevailed over Angeas, he fled from there and came to Shittim. And Sepho and the children of Shittim received him with great honor, for Sepho knew Balaam's wisdom, and Sepho gave unto Balaam many gifts, and he remained with him. And when Sepho had returned from the war, he commanded all the children of Shittim to be numbered who had gone into battle with him, and behold, not one was missed. Så han klarade sig här på grund av att han vände sig till Gud och Gud hjälpte dem. And Sepho rejoiced at this thing, and he renewed his kingdom, and he made a feast to all his subjects. But Sepho remembered not Yahweh, and conspired not that Yahweh had helped him in the battle, and that he had delivered him and his people from the hand of the king of Africa, but still walked in the ways of the children of Shittim, and the wicked children of Esau, to serve other Elohims, which his brethren, the children of Esau, had taught him. It is therefore said, from the wicked goes forth wickedness. And Sepho reigned over the children of Shittim securely, but knew not Yahweh, who had delivered him and all his people from the hands of the king of Africa. And the troops of Africa came no more to Shittim to plunder as usual, for they knew the power of Sepho, who had smitten them all at the edge of the sword. So Angeas was afraid of Sepho, the son of Eliphaz, and of the children of Shittim all the days. At that time, when Sepho had returned from the war, when Sepho had seen how he prevailed over the people of Africa, and had smitten them in battle at the edge of the sword, then Sepho advised with the children of Shittim to go to Egypt, to fight with the sons of Jacob, and with Pharaoh, king of Egypt. For Sepho heard that the mighty men of Egypt were dead, and that Joseph and his brethren, the sons of Jacob, were dead, and that all their children, the children of Israel, remained in Egypt. And Sepho considered to go to fight against them and all Egypt, to avenge the cause of his brethren, the children of Esau, which Joseph with his brethren and all Egypt had smitten in the land of Canaan, when they went to bury Jacob in Hebron. Som vi läste förra veckan, tror jag det var. Och om vi hoppar vidare till 22. Precis, de börjar väl kriga här då mot Egypten och Israels barn. And the men of Israel and of Egypt went forth, about 300,000 men and 150 men, and they went toward the kings to battle, and they placed themselves from within the land of Goshen, opposite Patros. And the Egyptians believed not in Israel to go with them in their camps together for battle, for all the Egyptians said, perhaps the children of Israel will deliver us into the hands of the children of Esau and Ishmael, for they are their brethren. Så när stridigheterna tog plats så det egyptiska folket tvivlade på Israels barn då. And Balaam the son of Beor the Syrian was there in the camp of Sepho, for he came with the children of Shittim to the battle. And Balaam was a man highly honored in the eyes of Sepho and his men. And Sepho said unto Balaam, try by divination for us that we may know who will prevail in the battle, we or the Egyptians. And Balaam rose up and tried the art of divination, and he was skillful in the knowledge of it, but he was confused, and the work was destroyed in his hand. And he tried it again, but it did not succeed, and Balaam despaired of it and left it, and did not complete it. For it was from Yahweh in order to cause Sepho and his people to fall into the hand of the children of Israel, who had trusted in Yahweh, the Elohim of their ancestors, in their war. Så Sepho förlorar det här kriget. Han glömde av vem som hjälpte honom förra gången. Och bara en intressant tanke att vad var det för kunskap Balaam hade? Är det kunskap som utnyttjas idag? Funkar den idag? Används den idag i krig, i stridigheter? Det är ju inget område vi ska gå in på. Men fienden använder det här området. Och jag tänkte om Balaam, det står ju om, vi kan läsa lite från en annan sida som jag letar fram här. Det står om Balaam i Uppenbarelseboken bland annat. Vi kan läsa det här. In Revelation 2:14, Uppenbarelseboken 2:14. The church of Pergamum is scolded for tolerating the teachings of Balaam, or the doctrine of Balaam. Balaam's name is also invoked 2 Peter 2:15, Jud 1:11. Så det nämns i andra Petrus och i Jud. Osäker på vad den heter på svenska. Both in warning about the conduct and message of false teachers. All of these are reference to the Old Testament character of Balaam, who tried unsuccessfully to prophesy against the people of Israel. Balaam kommer ju med Balaam och Balak, tror jag. Att försöka stoppa Israel också. Vi kommer läsa om det i 4:e Mosebok. He eventually advised King Balak of Moab, the enemy of Israel, to pursue a campaign of seduction against them. 4:e Mosebok. The doctrine of Balaam is not only a serious problem, but a devious one. When the frontal assault failed, Balaam took a backdoor approach. Balaam, a prophet from the Mesopotamia, was willing to use God-given talents for illicit purposes. Och vi kommer se Balaam, precis som Sepho här som vi läste, så kommer Balaam också prata med Gud och få svar från Gud. Så det, här har vi en magiker, en falsk profet som också har tillgång att prata med Gud. Even though he knew Balak was Elohim's enemy, he tried to sell his prophetic gift to help him, When that didn't work, Balaam concealed Balak on the most effective way to weaken Israel. This was through seduction, using Moabite and Midianite women to tempt the Israelite into sexual relationship and into pagan rituals. The Israelites who participated brought God's judgment upon themselves. Och det kommer vi läsa längre fram, men det som händer här i 4:e Mosebok, de vinner ju inte över Israels folk, de har inte en chans. För Gud har välsignat dem, står det. Men om de får folket att gå ifrån Gud genom, som det står här, sexuella relationer och pagan rituals, då drar de olycka över sig själva. Och det här var väl ordagrant också, men vi vet ju, Bibeln refererar ju till om man håller på, att man är pagan rituals, att man gör att man håller sig till en annan gud, att man gör som världen, som exempel. Så jämför han det med att man orenar sig, ett sexuellt orenande, även om det inte är ordagrant i den bemärkelsen, så jämförs det. Håller man sig inte till Guds vägar, så jämförs det med ett sexuellt sexual relationship. Och vi ser ju, det talas ju om otukt och det talas om adultery och så vidare. Och det är inte bara fysiska sexuella handlingar, utan det är också andliga handlingar som begås. För att vi har ju också ett förhållande. Vi ska ju ha ett förhållande med vår Herre. Så att bildspråket är ju ett förhållande bildspråk. Man ska vara trogen, man är ett tillsammans med Herren. Och det är som ett äktenskap. Men går man utanför det, så som det står, då följer man, då går man och horar, som det står. För människans hjärta vill göra det. Den vill vika av och göra de här sakerna. Så även om det var fysiska händelser, eller att man tog Guds ord enkelt och började blanda in andra saker. Det här är Balaams teaching. Om vi läser det, Uppenbarelseboken 2. To the angel of the church of Pergamum write, these are the words of him who has the sharp double-edged sword. I know where you live, where Satan has his throne. Okay. Yet you remain true to my name. You did not renounce your faith in me, not even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was put to death in your city, where Satan lives. Nevertheless, I have a few things against you. There are some among you who hold the teaching of Balaam, who thought Balak to entice the Israelites to sin, so they ate food sacrificed to idols and committed sexual immorality. Likewise, you also have those who hold the teaching of the Nicolaitans. Repent therefore, otherwise I will soon come to you and fight against them with the sword of my mouth. Så den här Balaams teaching får Israels folk. Och vilka är det? Alltså det är Guds folk, det är de som tror. Ättlingarna till Abraham. Om vi är i Kristus så tillhör vi Abrahams ättlingar, som Paulus säger. Och teaching of Balaam får folket att begå. Och här använder man att man äter food sacrificed to idols och commit sexual immorality. Och det här är ju bildspråk för att ägna sig åt andra gudar. Jag hoppas ni kommer se det och att ni förstår vad jag menar. Det behöver inte bara vara det är bildspråk på att hålla på med, som det står, pagan rituals, hedniska högtider, ritualer. Så ja. Vi kan fortsätta i Jasher 65. Jag vet inte om det var något speciellt i början här. Ja, i striden här då, så egyptierna är oroliga för att Israels folk ska bedra dem. Det de gjorde då i egyptierna i den här striden, de drog sig tillbaka. De lät Israels folk strida. Och Israels folk då, efter att de vann den här striden, vände sig tillbaka till egyptierna och slog dem och dödade dem med, vad jag förstod, på grund av deras agerande. Och det är lite det jag vill visa på när vi läser i Bibeln, att de konspirerar ju mot dem och säger att de kanske vänder sig mot oss. Och det finns en anledning till att de tänker så då, egyptierna. Ja, och sen så hamnar de då i det här läget där de måste börja hjälpa Egypten att bygga upp landet då. Eller arbeta för dem. And whilst you were building, cause a proclamation of this kind to be made throughout Egypt every day at the command of the king. And when some of the children of Israel shall come to build with you, you shall give them their wages daily for a few days. And after they shall have built with you for their daily hire, drag yourself away from them daily one by one in secret, and then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers. And you shall leave them afterward to build without wages, and should they refuse, then force them with all your might to build. And if you do this, it will be well with us to strengthen our land against the children of Israel. For on account of the fatigue of the building and the work, the children of Israel will decrease, because you will deprive them from their wives day by day. Så vi stannar där. Det här var planen. Se till att Israels barn börjar arbeta för oss varje dag. Ni ska också arbeta, Egyptens folk. Men så småningom så ska en och en försvinna, dra sig undan, för att bli taskmaster och officer, alltså chef. Förmyndigare, kanske är fel ord, men ni förstår. Bestämma över dem. Först är ni där och jobbar tillsammans. Sen så försvinner en. Några fler försvinner. Och sen så sitter ni som chefer och styr över de här nu istället. Och de kommer inte orka slåss mot er. För att de är tyngda och utmattade av det här arbetet. Och en annan sak. Because you will deprive them from their wives. Du kommer ta bort dem från deras fruar. Nu är de inte hem. De får inte vara i sin familj längre, utan nu måste ni måste jobba åt oss istället. Så man plockar mannen från hemmet, jobba här istället, och sen, och det är klart, det bryter ju upp familjen, det förstör ju Det förstör styrkan. Och då kan man ju börja undra, hur ser det ut idag? Finns det någon likhet idag med det här? Är vi slavar idag i samhället? Är vi fria? Äger vi det vi har? Äger vi våran mark? Eller jobbar vi åt någon annan som bestämmer åt oss? Vi åker ifrån varandra, våran familj, och jobbar åt någon annan. För att komma hem och... Ja, det kan ju se jätteolika ut. Man kommer hem och inte har tid med någonting kanske. Eller har fullt upp med massa annat. Och så fortsätter det så här och så här. Man kommer inte ur det. And all the elders of Egypt heard the counsel of the king, and the counsel seemed good in their eyes, and in the eyes of the servants of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all Egypt, and they did according to the word of the king. And all the servants went away from the king, and they caused a proclamation to be made in Egypt, and Tahpanches, and in Goshen, and in all the cities which surrounded Egypt, saying, If you have seen what the children of Esau and Ishmael did to us, who came to war against us and wished to destroy us. Now therefore the king commanded us to fortify the land, to build the cities, Pishom, jag vet inte hur man säger det, and Ramses, and to fortify them for battle if they should again come against us. Så här är planen då, och hur man exekverar den. Man skrämmer upp folket här att ni såg ju hur de här kom och stred mot oss. Det kanske händer igen. Vi måste bygga upp ett försvar här. Det är kris här. Vi måste ta itu med det här. Whosoever of you from all Egypt and from the children of Israel will come to build with us, he shall have his daily wages given by the king, as his command is unto us. Och det börjar med, man erbjuds ju, man får sin lön, man får sitt behov mättat om du kommer och gör det här istället. And when Egypt and all the children of Israel heard all that the servants of Pharaoh had spoken, they came from the Egyptians. There came from Egyptians and the children of Israel to build with the servants of Pharaoh, Pishom and Ramses. But none of the children of Levi came with their brethren to build. Så Levi var inte med. And all the servants of Pharaoh and his princes came at first with deceit to build with all Israel as daily hired labor, and they gave to Israel their daily hire at the beginning. And the servants of Pharaoh built with Israel, and were employed in that work with Israel for a month, and at that end of the month all the servants of Pharaoh began to withdraw secretly from the people of Israel daily. And Israel went on with the work at the time, but they then received their daily hire, because some of the men of Egypt were yet carrying on the work with Israel at the time. Therefore the Egyptians gave Israel their hire in those days, in order that they, the Egyptians, their fellow workmen, might also take the pay for their labor. And at the end of the year, and 4 months, all the Egyptians had withdrawn from the children of Israel, so that the children of Israel were left alone engaged in the work. Så gick det till. De började jobba tillsammans, sen så försvann en och en, men Israel vart inte av med arbetet. And after all the Egyptians had withdrawn from the children of Israel, they returned and became oppressors and officers over them. And some of them stood over the children of Israel as taskmasters, to receive from them all that they have gave them for the pay of their labor. And the Egyptians did in this manner to the children of Israel day by day in order to afflict in their work. And all the children of Israel were alone engaged in the labor. And the Egyptians refrained from giving any pay to the children of Israel from that time forward. Så där försvann pengarna också. And when some of the men of Israel refused to work on an account of the wages not being given to them, then the exactors and the servants of Pharaoh oppressed them and smote them with heavy blows and made them return by force to labor with their brethren. Thus did all the Egyptians unto the children of Israel all the days. Så vägrar man, så här står det, så vart de slagna. Man kan ju jämföra med idag. Vi har inte piskslag, men hur skulle det vara om man slutade? Kan man sluta betala skatt? Hur skulle det funka? Kan man sluta? Får man sluta? Och får man göra som man vill? Får man... Vi har ju vissa lagar. Som skola till exempel. Vi måste lämna våra barn till skolan. Våra barn måste vi lämna till skolan. Vi måste lämna det. Det är lag på det. Och det är ju för någonting bra, såklart. De måste ju lära sig. Alltså de kan ju inte... Vi kan ju inte lära dem. Någon annan måste ju lära dem. Det kan ju bli jättefel om de inte lär sig. Precis, man skrämmer ju upp här som de har gjort här också. De kanske kommer och krigar. Tänk om det här händer. Ja. Ni förstår säkert också vad som kan komma. Eller liknelser med det här. Och det är bara att fundera själv. Vad är vi slavar nu? Sitter vi i ett slaverisystem? Och vad säger man? Spoiler alert. Så jag vill mena på att vi sitter i... För Bibeln talar om spirituella Egypten. Babylon, Mystery Babylon, Spiritual Egypt. Och vi sitter fast i system som andra har valt åt oss och tvingar oss. Och vi får ju vårat bröd då. Vi får våran lön från det här systemet. Så att vi ska fortsätta i det. Och fortsätter vi inte i det, ja, men då får vi alla möjliga instanser på oss. För att slås till rätta igen. Rätta oss i ledet. Ställa in oss igen. På flera områden. Ni kommer säkert på andra områden också. Vad det kan röra sig om. Så ja. Vi kan fortsätta i Jasher 66. And in the 125th year of Israel going down to Egypt, all the Egyptians saw that their counsel did not succeed against Israel, but that they increased and grew, and the land of Egypt and the land of Goshen were filled with the children of Israel. Så deras plan var ju att de kommer gå under här, men de blev fler istället. Behold, we have feared war for a long time, and we say, when Israel become fruitful in the land, they will drive us from the land if a war should take place. Så nu börjar de frukta att om det blir krig så De är ju fler än oss nu. Nu kanske de tar över istället. If it pleases the king, let a royal decree go forth and let it be written in the laws of Egypt, which shall not be revoked, that every male child born to the Israelites, his blood shall be spilled upon the ground. Så här ser vi då hur det utvecklades till att nu måste vi döda deras barn. Det gick inte så bra första etappen vi tänkte här. And the king said unto them, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew woman and see them upon the stool, if it be a son, then you shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Så det var det vi läste i Exodus kapitel 1. Vi hoppar vidare till kapitel 2. Kapitel 2. And the man of the house of Levi went and took a wife, as wife a daughter of Levi. So the woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him 3 months. But when she could no longer hid him, she took an ark of the bulrushes for him, dabbed with the asphalt and pitch. But put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds of the river bank. And his sister stood far off to know what would be done to him. Then the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, and her maidens walked along the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. So the maiden went and called the child's mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him, and the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. So she called his name Moses, saying, because I drew him out of the water. Vi kan stanna där och hoppa in i Jasher kapitel 70. And in the third year from the birth of Moses, Pharaoh was sitting at the banquet when Alfranit, det var svårt namn. The queen was sitting at his right and Batia at his left. And the lad Moses was lying upon her bosom, and Balaam, nu har vi Balaam här igen, han är där hos kungen, the son of Beor, with his 2 sons, and all the princes of the kingdom were sitting at table in the king's presence. And the lad stretched forth his hand upon the king's head, and took the crown from the king's head, and placed it on his own head. Så det här är Mose när han var barn. Tar kungens krona, sätter den på sitt eget huvud. And when the king and princess saw the work which the boy had done, the king and princess were terrified, and one man to his neighbor expressed astonishment. And the king said unto the princes who were before him at table, what speak you, and what say you, O you princes, in this matter? And what is to be the judgment against the boy on account of this act? And Balaam the son of Beor, the magician, answered before the king and princes. And he said, remember now, O my lord and king, the dream which you did dream many days since, and that which your servant interpreted unto you. Now therefore, this is a child from the Hebrew children, in whom the spirit of Elohim is the spirit of Elohim. And let not my lord the king imagine that this youngster did this thing without knowledge. Så farao har fått en dröm här att hans rike kommer att krossas då. Och här har vi då ett hebreiskt barn, säger Balaam då, som har gjort den här akten. For he is a Hebrew boy, and wisdom and understanding are with him, although he is yet a child, and with wisdom has he done this, and chosen unto himself the kingdom of Egypt. For this is the manner of all the Hebrews, to deceive kings and their nobles, to do all these things cunningly in order to make the kings of the earth and their men tremble. Surely you know that Abraham their father acted like this, who deceived the army of Nimrod, king of Babel, and Abimelech, king of Gerar, and that he possessed himself of the land of the children of Heth and all the kingdom of Canaan. And that he descended into Egypt and said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister, in order to mislead Egypt and her king. Så ja, Balaams version av det hela. His son Isaac also did so when he went to Gerar and dwelt there, and his strength prevailed over the army of Abimelech, king of the Philistines. He also thought of making the kingdom of the Philistines stumble, in saying that Rebekah, his wife, was his sister. Jacob also dealt treacherously with his brother, and took from his hand his birthright and his blessing. Och det här påståendet kan man fortfarande höra. Och samma retorik kring det. He went then to Padan Aram, to the house of Laban his mother's brother, and cunningly obtained from him his daughter, his cattle, and all belonging to him, and fled away and returned to the land of Canaan to his father. His son sold their brother Joseph, who went down to Egypt and became a slave, and was placed in the prison house for 12 years, until the former Pharaoh dreamed dreams, and withdrew him from the prison house, and magnified him above all the princes in Egypt on account of his interpreting this dream to him. And when Elohim caused a famine throughout the land, he sent forth and brought his father and all his brothers, and the whole of his father's household, and supported them without price or reward, and brought the Egyptians for slaves, and bought the Egyptians for slaves. Now therefore, my lord king, behold, this child has risen up in their stead in Egypt, to do according to their deeds, and to trifle with every king, prince, or judge. If it pleases the king, let us now spill his blood upon the ground, lest he grow up and take away the government from your hand, and the hope of Egypt perish after he shall have reigned. And Balaam said to the king, let us moreover call for all the judges of Egypt and the wise men thereof, and let us know if the judgment of death is due to this boy, as you did say, and then we will slay him. And Pharaoh sent and called for all the wise men of Egypt, and they came before the king, and an angel of Yahweh came among them, and he was like one of the wise men of Egypt. And the king said to the wise man, surely you have heard what this Hebrew boy who is in the house has done, and thus has Balaam judged in the matter. Now judge you also, and see what is due to the boy for the act he has committed. And the angel, who seemed like one of the wise men of Pharaoh, answered and said as follow, before all the wise men of Egypt and before the king and the princess: If it pleases the king, let the king send 4 men who shall bring before him an onyx stone and a coal of fire, and place them before the child. And if the child shall stretch forth his hand and take the onyx stone, then shall we know that with wisdom has the youth done all that he has done, and we must slay him. But if he stretch forth his hand upon the coal, then shall we know that it was not with knowledge that he did this thing, and he shall live. And the thing seemed good in the eyes of the king and the prince. So the king did according to the word of the angel of Yahweh. And the king ordered the onyx stone and coal to be brought and placed before Moses. And they placed the boy before them, and the lad endeavored to stretch forth his hand to the onyx stone, but the angel of Yahweh took his hand and placed it upon the coal. And the coal became extinguished in his hand, and he lifted it up and put it into his mouth, and burned part of his lips and part of his tongue. And he became heavy in mouth and tongue. Så det här kommer vi läsa om längre fram. And when the king and princess saw this, they knew that Moses had not acted with wisdom in taking off the crown of the king's head. So the king and princess refrained from slaying the child. So Moses remained in Pharaoh's house, growing up, and Yahweh was with him. Vi hoppar tillbaka till Exodus 2. Now it came to pass, in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out to his brethren and looked at their burdens. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his brethren. So he looked this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 Hebrew men were fighting, and he said to one who did the wrong, Why are you striking your companion? Then he said, Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? So Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known. When Pharaoh heard of this matter, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. Then the shepherd came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flocks. When they came to Reuel, their father, he said, How is it that you have come to so soon today? And they said, An Egyptian delivered us from the hand of the shepherd, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock. So he said to his daughter, And where is he? Why is it that you have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. Then Moses was content to live with the man, and he gave Zipporah, his daughter, to Moses, and she bore him a son. He called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a foreign land. Now it happened in the process of time that the king of Egypt died. Then the children of Israel groaned because of the bondage, and they cried out, and their cry came up to Elohim because of the bondage. So Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, with Jacob. And Elohim looked upon the children of Israel, and Elohim acknowledged them. Ja, vi hoppar lite snabbt fram här. Bibeln är ju ganska kort i beskrivningen här. Men vi kan fortsätta läsa Jesher 71. Ja, det står i Jesher att Mose var 8 år när han dödade den här Egypten då. Nu hittar jag inte det. And Pharaoh heard of this affair, and he ordained Moses to be slain. So Elohim sent his angel, and he appeared unto Pharaoh in the likeness of a captain of the guard. And the angel of Yahweh took the sword from the hand of the captain of the guard, and took his head off with it. For the likeness of the captain of the guard was turned into the likeness of Moses. And the angel of Yahweh took hold of the right hand of Moses, and brought him forth from Egypt, and placed him from without the borders of Egypt, a distance of 40 days' journey. And Aaron his brother alone remained in the land of Egypt, and he prophesied to the children of Israel, saying, Thus says Yahweh Elohim of your ancestors, throw away each man the abomination of his eyes, and do not defile yourself with the idols of Egypt. And the children of Israel rebelled and would not hearken to Aaron at that time. And Yahweh thought to destroy them, were it not that Yahweh remembered the covenant which he had made with Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. In those days the hand of Pharaoh continued to be severe against the children of Israel, and he crushed and oppressed them until the time when Elohim sent forth his word and took notice of them. Aaron säger till folket, Herren säger, ta bort det som är en styggelse för Herren, och orena er inte med Egyptens idoler, med deras vägar, deras levnadssätt, deras. Gör inte som de gör. Kapitel 3, Exodus. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the desert, and came to Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And the angel of Yahweh appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. So he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. Then Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. So when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to look, Elohim called him to him from the midst of the bush, and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Do not draw near this place. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, the Elohim of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. For I know their sorrow. So I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up from that land to a good land and a large land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanite and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppressed them. Come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to Elohim, Who am I that I sought to go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? So he said, I will certainly be with you, and this shall be a sign to you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve Elohim on this mountain. Then Moses said to Elohim, Indeed, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, The Elohim of your father has sent me to you, and they say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? And Elohim said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. Moreover, Elohim said to Moses, Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, Yahweh Elohim of your father, Elohim of Abraham, Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial to all generations. Vi kan stanna där. Vad var hans namn? Heter han Jag är den jag är? Är det hans namn? Jag säger ju Jahua. Och Bibeln har ju översatt hans namn till som här, Lord. Lord är en titel, och översätter man det här till hebreiska så blir det Baal. Baal är ingen positiv titel. Det är, vad ska man säga då, en avgud eller en, ja, det är inte våran, det är inte skaparen av himmel och jord, Baal, utan det är en avgud, en annan gud, en gud. Och också God, Gud, använder jag Elohim. Elohim är, vad jag förstår, hebreiska ordet för namnet på himlen och jordens skapare. Inte Baal. Och i svenskan har vi då Herren med stora bokstäver istället. Mitt namn är Herren, säger han på svenska. Vi ska se om jag lyckas med det här. Här har vi en suddig bild, men för att så som hans namn, när Bibeln har översatt det till Lord, jag tror de brukar säga, man har ändrat det på 6000 ställen, och det skrevs ut som YHVH. Och förr hade de ju bildspråk. Så de hade ett språk som kallades för Paleo Hebrew. Vi ska se här. Paleo Hebrew. Man läser från höger till vänster. Så det här då, YHVH, det här är hans namn. Så här utskrevs det. Och sen arameiska har det blivit så. Och hebreiska nu så är det de här då. YHVH. Men varför säger jag Y? Hur går det ihop? Här har vi då en bild på hebreiska, modern Hebrew. Och hittar jag här. Det var ju det här tecknet. Som är Y. Y, H, V, H. Och om vi tittar på den här, ska se. Vart har vi? YHVH. Ni får sätta er in och läsa om det här. Det är så många översättningar. YHVH uttalar man, vad jag förstår, på modern hebreiska Jod, hej, vav, hej. Och det är de här tecknen då. Jod, hej, vav, hej. Och det här skrev man då på Mose tid, Paleo Hebrew som bildspråk. Jod. Och det innebörden är en arm, en hand, en arm. Jod. Hej, behold. Look. Jod, hej. Vav, hej. Behold the arm, behold the nail. Det är hans namn. Och jag kan bara referera här. Han säger att han är alfa och omega. Och det är ju för att man har översatt då till grekiska. I hebreiska alfabetet så är det alef, tav. Jag är beginning, end. Jag är fullheten. Och alef, första är en oxe. En tjur. Vi kommer ju se att de gör en guldtjur. Representerar styrka och ledarskap. Och här har vi då, tidigare var det här bildspråket som användes, som sen har blivit, man har utskrivit så här. Som jag visar då. Vart hade vi det? Jad. Den här lilla på modern hebreiska. Så, jod, hej, vav, hej. Och arameiska såg vi någonting där. Det här tecknet, där, den. Så här har vi på Paleo Hebrew. Armen. Jod, hej, vav, hej. Och det här vet man ju inte hur man ska uttala riktigt. Därav att vi har, man säger Jehova. Och vi säger prisat vare Herren då som har översatts. Och vi säger halleluja, är ju det, prisat vare Herren. Halleluja. Så en del vill ju säga, och jag tänker att det är inte så noga hur man uttalar det, men att man känner till det, man förstår det, och man vill ju vara så noga man kan vara. Om man vet att någon, om man vi har ju lärt oss, men han heter Herren, han heter Gud, och Jesus heter Jesus. Men om man får reda på att han heter egentligen inte så, han heter någonting i stil med det här. Det är samma om man skulle känna någon person. Ja, men han heter ju Johan, vet du. Nej, men han heter inte Johan, han heter egentligen Johannes. Då fortsätter man kanske inte och säger Johan, utan då vill man säga Johannes kanske. Så tänker jag. Och om vi tittar på YHVH, hur uttalar man det? Hade jag inte det här? Ja, här Y eller E. YH IA U A Iaua kan en del säga. Jaua. Så ja, Jahua. Lite enklare att säga. Halleluja säger vi. En del säger Jehova. Ja, jag ville bara visa lite. Mose får då. Nu läser vi ju engelskan här. Där han säger I am who I am. Men this is my name forever. Och det här är det. Det är där ni ska komma ihåg mig som. Så det finns mycket innebörd i det här. Det är inte bara uttal, det är inte bara, det finns en innebörd i namnet också. Ja, vi fortsätter. Go and gather the elders of Israel together and say to them, Yahweh, Elohim of your father, Yahweh of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, appeared to me, saying, I have surely visited you and seen what is done to you in Egypt. And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites and to the Hittites and to the Amorites and to the Perizzites and to the Hivites and the Jebusites, to a land flowing with milk and honey. And they will heed your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, to the king of Egypt, and you shall say to him, Yahweh Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us, and now please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to Yahweh our Elohim. But I am sure that the king of the Egypt will not let you go, no, not even by a mighty hand. So I will stretch out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders, which I will do in its midst. And after that he will let you go. And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and it shall be, when you go, that you shall not go empty-handed, but every woman shall ask of their neighbor, namely of her who dwells near her house, articles of silver, articles of gold, and clothing, and you shall put them on your sons and your daughters. So you shall plunder the Egyptians. En annan sak om man hoppar ett sidospår, eller vad ska man säga. Vi pratar ju om, sitter vi i ett slaverisystem? Kan vi identifiera ett egyptiskt slaverisystem över oss? Där vi är tvungna på ett sätt att gå och jobba för att få våran beskärda del, men tas från hem och hus, från familj, för att jobba åt samhället. Är det fel? Är det bra? Eller inte det? Och här då så säger han att när ni kommer ut så ska ni inte gå, ni kommer inte vara empty-handed, tomhänta. Utan ni ska bara gå och fråga er granne, har ni något att ge oss? Vi kommer försvinna, vi kommer dra härifrån, vi kommer Och de kommer ge er silver, guld, kläder. På så sätt ska ni plundra Egypten. Och sen så finns det en sak i Bibeln som man ofta inte har talat om. Jag har inte tidigare hört det någonstans. Men det här är ju Exodus. Exodus betyder ju att man går ut. De går ju ut här, folket. Men Bibeln talar också om en andra Exodus. Ett annat ett tillfälle igen. Och beskriver det en sån händelse att folk kommer inte prata om den här första, utan den andra kommer bli mycket större. Och man kan ju undra, kommer det se liknande ut här? Kommer de som följer honom, hans folk, att få saker, fråga efter saker, fråga efter allt det här, guld, silver, innan? Förstår ni vad jag vill beskriva? Kommer vi få ta del av världens rikedomar, inte för att vi ska gotta oss i det, men till våran fördel. Bibeln pratar faktiskt om det, att syndarnas rikedomar är stored up för oss, hans folk. Så jag kanske kommer göra en egen video på det här second Exodus då. Men också det här slavsystemet, sitter vi i ett sånt? Är det noga att kunna identifiera det? Jag tänker det. Jag upplever att kristenheten är väldigt nöjd med att sitta fast i ett system. Och vi kommer se liknelser på hur folket beter sig sen när de är ute i öknen. De längtar tillbaka. De vill tillbaka. Det var mycket enklare. Det var mycket bättre. Man identifierar inte att det är så bekvämt och skönt här. Det är så bra allting. Men det var deras klagan till slut som gjorde att klagan nådde upp till Gud. Och jag tänker att det är viktigt att identifiera att vi sitter i ett system. Det ska inte se ut så här som det gör. Och hur har vi hamnat där? Vi har blivit lurade in i det. Vi har blivit lockade in i de här snarorna. Men det är också en del av straffet för att vi inte har följt. Våra fäder har inte följt. Och det med Balaams teaching som vi har pratat om, så håller man sig till världens levnadssätt. Pagan rituals, äter kött. Man konsumerar det som världen håller på med. Vare sig det är fysiska handlingar eller spirituella handlingar. Jeremia 16:19. O Yahweh, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto you from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Så här säger profeten Jeremia: hedningar kommer att komma från jordens ände, jordens alla ändar, till dig. I Gamla testamentet så pratas det redan om att det inkluderar alla redan. Det var inte bara judarna. Lagen var inte bara till för dem under en viss tid. Här kommer hedningarna från alla hörn, från jordens ände. Biblisk kosmologi, jorden har en ände, jorden har jorden har ett valv. De kommer säga, när hedningarna kommer, sannoliken våra fäder har ärvt lögner. Vanity, jag hittar aldrig det svenska ordet för det. Vanity, ja. Våra fäder har ärvt lögner och tomhet och saker som det inte finns någon vinning i. Alltså tomt, strunt. Och det här är straffet för när vi har vänt från hans vägar, så kommer han splittra oss ut över världen, som det står. Och det är en del av straffet. Vi ska se om jag kan hitta. Det är klart jag kan hitta det. Jag har ju förberett lite grann här. Enoks bok. Enok. Jag vet inte hur mycket jag ska ta från början. Enok nämns i början av Bibeln. Det finns en bok som han har skrivit. Som har hittats i Döda havsrullarna. Flera exemplar av det här. Jag har också svensk översättning. Enoks bok. Om vi läser kapitel 93 där. Enok får en syn. Det här är ju före Noa tid. Han får en syn om hela skapelsens tidsepok egentligen. Vi kan läsa. After that, Enoch both gave and begat to recount from the books. And Enoch said, concerning the children of righteousness, and concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the plant of uprighteousness, I will speak these things. Yea, I, Enoch, will declare them unto you, my sons. Vi kan hoppa hit. And Enoch began to recount from the books and said, I was born the 7th in the first week, while judgment and righteousness still endured. Det här är före Noa då, föddes han. And after me there shall arise in the 2nd week great wickedness, under Noas tid. And deceit shall have sprung up, and in it there shall be the first end. Floden, som avslutar första delen. And in it a man shall be saved, Noah, and after it is ended, unrighteousness shall grow up, and a law shall be made for the sinners. Här har vi en lag efter Noa. Vad är det för lag? Är det en lag till syndarna? Här var ju änglarna under Noas tid. Är det en lag för dem? Det kan också vara en lag för Noa. Noa får ju Guds instruktioner som man ger vidare till sina söner. And after that, in the 3rd week at its close, a man shall be elected as the plant of righteous judgment. Det här är Abraham. And his posterity shall become the plant of the righteousness forevermore. And after that, in the 4th week, at its close, visions of the holy and righteous shall be seen, and the law for all generations, and an enclosure shall be made for them. Här har vi nu Mose och folket som får lagen. Och här står det enclosure. De får ju tabernakel också. Om det är det som menas. And after that in the 5th week at its close the house of glory and dominion shall be built forever. Och då kan man tänka, men det här kanske är när de kommer in i landet. House of glory and dominion shall be built forever. Är det här templet? Jag tror inte det. För att det har raserats 2 gånger. House of glory står det här. Kom ihåg. And after that in the 6th week all who live in it shall be blinded, and the hearts of all of them shall godlessly forsake wisdom. Här vet vi att folket i Israel gick bort från Herrens vägar, från Jahuas vägar. And in it a man shall ascend, and at its close the house of dominion shall be burnt with fire. Så här har vi Jesus, Jehusha, kommer ner. Och vid den tidepokens slut så ska the house of dominion shall be burned. Inte the house of glory. Jag tänker att det här är nya Jerusalem på något sätt som börjar byggas. Efter att de hade tabernaklet. För här bränns dominion. The house of dominion shall be burned. And the whole race of the chosen root, Abrahams avkomma, shall be dispersed, splittrat ut över hela jorden. And after that in the 7th week shall an apostate generation arise, and many shall be its deeds, and all its deeds shall be apostate. Så efter Jesus, efter lärjungarna, apostlarna, när de dog, så var det någon som tog över och skapade den kristna tron. Men det är en apostate generation, jag hittar aldrig de svenska orden för det. De följer inte Herrens väg i alla fall. De kommer göra många gärningar. Men alla gärningar ska vara förgängliga av icke, som vi läste i Jeremia. No profit. Vanity. And at its close, i slutet av den här tidsepoken, shall be elected the elect righteous of the eternal plant of righteousness. De rättfärdiga, de utvalda. To receive 7-fold instructions concerning all his creation. Efter den 7:e veckan kommer ett rättfärdigt släkte att ta del av en 7-faldig kunskap om hela hans skapelse. Ja, jag hoppas jag knyter ihop det lite grann i vad det är jag vill visa. Jag vill bara visa egentligen, de satt fast i ett egyptiskt slaverisystem. De vart friade, de vart lösta därifrån. Och Bibeln talar om det också. Att det kommer ske en gång till. Och då, men det är ingen som pratar om att vi sitter fast i ett dåligt system nu. Det finns ingen kyrka vad jag vet som talar om att det är snarare bra. Vi har det bekvämt och man bråkar om andra saker. Man bråkar om man håller andra saker som är vanity. Och Jesus kom ju och sa till fariseerna samma sak också. Ni håller på med vanity, alltså ni lär människors traditioner, men inte Guds vägar. Teaching for doctrine the commandments of men, säger de. Ja. Vi hoppar vidare. Kapitel 4. Then Moses answered and said, But suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say, Yahweh has not appeared to you. So Yahweh said to him, What is that in your hand? He said, A rod. And he said, Cast it to the ground. So he cast it to the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from it. Then Yahweh said to Moses, Reach out your hand and take it by the tail. And he reached out his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. That they may believe that Yahweh Elohim of their father, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, has appeared to you. Furthermore, Yahweh said to him, Now put your hand in your bosom. And he put his hand in his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous, like snow. And he said, Put your hand in your bosom again. So he put his hand in his bosom again, and drew it out of his bosom, and behold, it was restored like his other flesh. Then it will be, if they do not believe you, nor heed the message of the first sign, that they may believe the message of the latter sign. And it shall be, if they do not believe even these two things, or listen to your voice, then you shall take water from the river and pour it on the dry land, and the water which you take from the river will become blood on the dry land. Then Moses said to Yahweh, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. Och det var det här jag ville visa. Är det utifrån att han tog kolet här i munnen när han var liten? So Yahweh said to him, Who has made man's mouth, or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I, Yahweh? Now therefore go, and I will be with you, your mouth, and teach you what you shall say. But he said, O my Lord, please send by the hand of whoever else you may send. So the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Moses, and he said, Is not Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well. And look, he is also coming out to meet you. When he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. Now you shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and with his mouth. And I will teach you what you shall do. So he shall be your spokesman to the people, and he himself shall be as a mouth for you, and you shall be to him as Elohim. And you shall take this rod in your hand, with which you shall do the signs. So Moses went and returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, Please let me go and return to my brethren who are in Egypt, and see whether they are still alive. And Jethro said to Moses, Go in peace. Now Yahweh said to Moses in Midian, Go return to Egypt, for all the men who sought your life are dead. Then Moses took his wife and his sons, and set them on a donkey, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took the rod of Elohim in his hand, And Yahweh said to Moses, when you go back to Egypt, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh which I put in your hand. But I will harden his heart, so that he will not let my people go. Then you shall say to Pharaoh, thus says Yahweh, Israel is my son, my firstborn. So I say to you, let my son go, that he may serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, indeed I will kill your son, your firstborn. Lite intressant, Israel är min son, min förstfödde son. Om vi tittar på Bible Hub heter den här sidan. Israel is my firstborn son. Israel is my son, even my firstborn. Om vi kollar på hebreiska här. And you shall say to Pharaoh, thus says Yahweh. En del säger Yahweh. Utifrån de här hebreiska bokstäverna som vi hade här. Från det hållet. Yahweh. Jag tenderar att säga Yahweh utifrån vissa översättare då, som jag har tittat på. Om vi kollar på det här, då står YHVH. Men så står det Jehova. Så där, hur ska man uttala det här? Konsonanter och versaler, eller jag kanske sa fel, konsonanter och så Jehova, hur ska det vara som i shalom, hur ska man säga det här? Jehuva. Ja, vet man ju att vi använder. Halleluja. Jehova. Yes, det var bara det. And it came to pass on the way at the encampment that Yahweh met with him and sought to kill him. Oj. Nu ville Gud döda Mose. Vad hände här? Then Sephora took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at Moses' feet and said, surely you are a husband of blood to me, so he let him go. Then she said, you are a husband of blood because of the circumcision. Om vi kikar i Jasher 79. And Moses rose up to Egypt, and he took his wife and his sons with him, and he was set at an inn in the road. And the angel of Elohim came down and sought an occasion against him, and he wished to kill him on the account of his firstborn son, because he had not circumcised him, and had transgressed the covenant which Yahweh made with Abraham. Och här ser vi återigen att de har ju inte fått lagen än på berget. Men det finns en lag, det finns en covenant, det finns regelverk redan där. Och kyrkan lär väl att här fanns det ingenting. Och sen kom det en lag vid berget bara för en viss stund. Och nu gäller inte den längre. Men så är inte fallet. For Moses had hearkened to the words of his father-in-law, which had spoken to him not to circumcise his firstborn son. Therefore he circumcised him not. And Sephora saw the angel of Yahweh seeking an occasion against Moses, and she knew that this thing was owing to his not having circumcised her son Gershom. And Yahweh said to Aaron, "Go into the wilderness to meet Moses." So he went and met him on the mountain of Elohim, and kissed him. And Moses told Aaron all the words of Yahweh who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. Then Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel, and Aaron spoke all the words which Yahweh had spoken to Moses. Then he did the signs in the sight of the people, so the people believed. And when they heard that Yahweh had visited the children of Israel, and that he had looked on their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshipped. Kapitel 5. Afterwards Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, "Thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." And Pharaoh said, "Who is Yahweh, that I should obey his voice, to let Israel go? I do not know Yahweh, nor will I let Israel go." So they said, "The Elohim of the Hebrew has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the desert and sacrifice to Yahweh our Elohim, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword." And the king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, why do you take the people from their work? Go back to your labor." And Pharaoh said, "Look, the people of the land are many now, and you make them rest from their labor." So the same day Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, "You shall no longer give the people straw to make bricks, as before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves, and you shall lay on them the quota of bricks which they made before. You shall not reduce it, for they are idle. Therefore they cry out, saying, Let us go and sacrifice to our Elohim. Let more work be laid on the men, that they may labor in it, and let them not regard false words." And the taskmasters of the people and their officers went out and spoke to the people, saying, "Thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go get yourself straw where you can find it. Yet none of your work will be reduced." So the people were scattered abroad throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble instead of straw. And the taskmasters forced them to hurry, saying, "Fulfill your work, your daily quota, as when there was straw." Så här ser man också till att splittra folket. De får gå ut och de får mer arbete. Och det blir splittring. Och det här är ju ett effektivt sätt fortfarande. Also the officers of the children of Israel, whom Pharaoh's taskmaster had set over them, were beaten and were asked, "Why have we not fulfilled the task in making brick both yesterday and today as before?" Then the officers of the children of Israel came and cried out to Pharaoh, saying, "Why are you dealing thus with your servants? There is no straw given to your servants. And they say to us, Make brick. And indeed your servants are beaten, but the fault is in your own people." But he said, "You are idle. Therefore you say, Let us go and sacrifice to Yahweh. Therefore go now and work, for no straw shall be given you. Yet you shall deliver the quota of bricks." And the officers of the children of Israel saw that they were in trouble after it was said, "You shall not reduce any bricks from your daily quota." Om vi hoppar in i Jasher 77, hoppar tillbaka lite. Ja, det var nog inget speciellt. Jo, det var det visst det här. Thus says Pharaoh, do your work each day and finish your task and observe the daily measure of bricks, diminish not anything. And it shall come to pass that if you are deficient in your daily bricks, I will put your young children in their stead. And the taskmasters of Egypt did so in those days as Pharaoh has ordered them. And whenever any deficiency was found in the children of Israel's measure of their daily bricks, the taskmaster of Pharaoh would go to the wives of the children of Israel and take infants of the children of Israel to the number of bricks deficient. They would take them by force from their mothers' laps and put them in the building instead of the bricks. Så fanns det inte sten att mura med, så tog de barnen och byggde vägg med. Whilst their father and mother were crying over them and weeping when they heard the weeping voices of their infants in the wall of the building. And the taskmasters prevailed over Israel, that the Israelites should place their children in the building, so that the man placed his son in the wall and poured mortar over him, whilst his eyes wept over him, and his tears ran down upon his child. Så man murade in sina barn. De blev tvingade att mura in barnen i väggarna. Och det här där kan man höra vittnesbörd om att sådana här saker kan pågå än idag. Även om man inte tror det. Det pågick då. Ingenting är nytt under solen, som Bibeln säger. Och också det här att vi blir uppmanade att inte pass our children through the fire till Molok. Vi ska inte låta våra barn gå. Bara en liknelse också. Skicka inte era barn. Men här vart de tvingade. Jag bara tänker, har det sett ut så här? Ser det ut så här idag? Det är inte exakt samma ordagranta slaveri, men det är vi har ett liknande slaveri. Var det någonting mer jag skulle läsa? Vi kan fortsätta kapitel 5 ut här. Then as they came out from Pharaoh, they met Moses and Aaron, who stood there to meet them, and they said to them, Let Yahweh look on you and judge, because you have made us abhorrent in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of his servant, to put the sword in their hand to kill us. So Moses returned to Yahweh and said, Lord, why have you brought trouble on this people? Why is it you have sent me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people. Neither have you delivered your people at all. Och sista versen. Then Yahweh said to Moses, Now you shall see what I will do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand he will let them go, and with a strong hand he will drive them out of his land. Jag ville bara ta med en till sak i Jasher här. Mose har en stav. Det står om den i Jasher här också. Det här var då tidigare. Tillbaka. Mose har inte gått till Egypten än. And afterwards Moses went into the garden of Reuel, which was behind the house, and he there prayed to Yahweh his Elohim, who had done mighty wonders for him. And it was whilst he prayed, he looked upon opposite to him, and behold, a sapphire stick was placed in the ground, which was planted in the midst of the garden. And he approached the stick, And he looked, and behold, the name of Yahweh Elohim of hosts was engraved thereon, written and developed upon the stick. And he read it and stretched forth his hand, and he plucked it like a forest tree from the thicket, and the stick was in his hand. And this is the stick with which all the works of our Elohim were performed, after he had created heaven and earth, and all the hosts of them, seas, river, and all their fishes. And when Elohim had driven Adam from the Garden of Eden, he took the stick in his hand and went and tilled the ground from which he was taken. And the stick came down to Noah, and was given to Shem and his descendants, until it came into the hand of Abram the Hebrew. And when Abram had given all he had to his son Isaac, he also gave to him this stick. And when Jacob had fled to Padan Aram, he took it into his hand, and when he returned to his father, he had not left it behind him. Also when he went down to Egypt, he took it in his hand and gave it to Joseph, one portion above his brethren. And Jacob had taken it by force from his brother Esau. And after the death of Joseph, the nobles of Egypt came into the house of Joseph, and the stick came into the hand of Reuel the Midianite. And when he went out of Egypt, he took it in his hand and planted it in his garden. And all the mighty men of the Kenitites tried to pluck it when they endeavored to get Zipporah, his daughter, but they were unsuccessful. So that stick remained planted in the garden of Reuel until he came who had a right to it and took it. And when Reuel saw the stick in the hand of Moses, he wondered at it, and he gave him his daughter Zipporah for a wife. Så typ som svärdet i stenen. Det står så här i Jasher i alla fall. Om den här staven. Ja. Det var det vi skulle läsa idag. Mycket att läsa. Många saker. Slaveriet. Fundera på det. Ta det till Herren. Läs hans ord. Identifiera det. Ja. Balaam har vi pratat om. Också Herrens namn. YHVH. Tetragrammaton. Något i den stilen. Brukar man kalla det här hebreiska, ja, vad ska man säga, alfabetet. YHVH. Jod, hej, vav, hej. Ja. Det jag ville trycka på, det var väl egentligen slaveriet. Att vi med största sannolikhet också befinner oss i ett slaveri. Och i det spirituella Egypten. Som det står om längre fram i Bibeln. Ja, vi stannar där. Så ses vi nästa vecka.